Welcome. Today, I want to talk about motivation and more particularly the lack of motivation and how to find or create or invoke motivation when it's lacking. I'm a lifelong passionate runner. I've got 5 decades of running behind me and more than 70,000 miles under my feet. But I still have days when my motivation wanes and I just can't get out the door or get on a treadmill. And it's those days that I count on shortcuts, motivation hacks, if you will, to find the motivation to just get me out the door or get my workout started. Like most of you, we have these days, life takes over and we just can't find that motivation. So today I want to try to help you. I want to give you some ideas of what I do to find motivation, to invoke it. Um, and I'm going to do that today in a format that you may be more familiar with for podcasting. I'm going to have a discussion, a remote discussion with an old running pal of mine named Erick. We're going to do it this evening. But I wanted to give you a little heads up on what today's content is going to include. I still love running. I whenever I can, I consider running a gift, and whenever the opportunity arises and I'm available, I'm able to run, and then I don't, I feel rotten about it. I feel like it's an opportunity lost. It's a waste of the gift. Um, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and she brought up a really good point. She said, try to think of it from a standpoint of your adult children. And the last time you picked them up as a small child to give them a hug, you may or may not even remember that. Certainly may not have had any forewarning, advance notice that that would be the last time. I don't remember it. Um, Nonetheless, one day you realize that that opportunity no longer exists. I'm the same way. I look at running similarly. I have a gift. I have a capability that I try to exercise regularly. Um, but when I don't, I tend to think about, wow, that's an opportunity lost. It's a waste. One day, that ability is going to cease. Injury, illness, a recovery period that I don't recover from. Anyway, I'm going to lose the opportunity. And therefore, I try to find ways to motivate myself to take advantage of the opportunity when it arises. Today, I want to talk to you about my motivational hacks. I consider them gateways or on ramps, behavioral changes, things that I can think about and do to get me out the door, get me on the treadmill, get my workout in when I really want to, but my motivation is lacking. And tonight we're going to have a discussion about this. So, without further ado, if you like what you see and hear today, please give me thumbs up, comment. I would love to know what you do to find motivation when your motivation wanes. Whether you're a continuing runner, experienced lifelonger like me, or you're new to the game, a newbie, or you're getting back in the game or coming back from injury or illness, I'm curious to know, how do you find and how do you invoke motivation? That would be great. If you can share that with all of us, that would be wonderful. If you are so inclined, please subscribe. I would appreciate that. So thanks for tuning in to the Aging Runner podcast. Let's get on with today's episode right now.
All right. Looks like we have liftoff. All right. Hey, welcome to the Aging Runner podcast, where we talk about all things running after 50. I'm your host, JJ Duffy. With me today is Erick Waldchen. Erick and I have been running pals we just did the math, and it appears we've been running buddies for about 15 years.
Right.
2010 or thereabouts. So today we're talking about motivation and how to find it, how to create it, how to control it, how to invoke it. Erick and I have collectively got many, many years of running experience. And today I want to talk about how we collectively and individually find the motivation to continue running. Between us, we've got, what would that be? Like 75 years of running.
It's a
And
lot.
it's a lot of running. It's a lot of miles. Um, so yeah, I've got a little bit of a template here, list of questions. So this is our initial, podcast template. So for those of you who have tuned in, thanks for finding it. We're going to do more of these, but this is our first test. And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Erick Waldchen. Erick, we connected in 2010, and where was that? Where did you find me?
I showed up at the track in Wheaton, and there was a group there. It was the Jim Spivey Running Club, and I just jumped in without really having the slightest idea about what track workouts were or what to expect. Yeah, it was pretty much trial by fire, I guess. I figured it out. Jim was a really good, easy coach to learn how to do those workouts with. But it was a fun group, and
Yeah,
you were
and
one
that
of the fun
that
people
was
to run with.
thank you. That was May of the year. Is that what we figured?
Yeah, it was like late spring.
Late spring. So Eric and I live in the Chicagoland area, okay, in Illinois. So May could still have snow on the ground, or it could be 90 degrees and humid. But we had a track group. We were part of the same track group for, well, in your case, 15 years. And yeah, so there's a gentleman by the name of Jim Spivey. For those of you who are tuned in, if you're not familiar with that name, Jim is a contemporary of mine. He is a 3-time Olympic athlete, Olympic qualifier. Um, he started out as a 1,500-meter specialist, came out of Indiana University, was the Big Ten champion in the 1,500, and summarily ran, 1984, 1992, and 1996.
Yeah,
Ran
really
for the
well.
United States, yeah. And he summarily became a 5,000-meter specialist. Anyway, Jim has a running club called the Jim Spivey Running Club. God, who knew? And I joined that in about 1998. And Eric, as we mentioned, came aboard in about 2010.
2010.
So, yeah, and basically the track club was a group of guys got together after work on, what was it, Thursday nights for the most part.
Thursday nights. Yep.
Yeah. And we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of, great workouts. We did, warm-ups and cool downs, and we got together on other days, and we just became a fairly large group of just, post-collegiate runners with a common interest. And Jim always made it fun. Great guy. Anyway, so Eric has been running with that group for 15 years. I've been there probably I don't know, quite a bit more now, and both of us, both Eric and I, have experienced good successes on the roads, tracks, and trails, and we've also had I would say more than our share of minor and major injuries. Some of those injuries came as a result of overuse. Some of them came as a result of self-inflicted. Absolutely. I'm thinking that one of your majors was roller skates.
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm.
What was that?
That I broke my ankle roller skating, and that was a pretty big setback.
Yeah, about a year, right?
Yeah, but I was really fortunate to find a surgeon that was a runner and worked with me to get me back up. And I broke my ankle in March of whatever year it was, I can't think. And I was able to run a half marathon in September of that year.
Wow, that is good. That's really good. Yeah, 6 months. Yeah, and we both had injuries, that resulted from our mileage, no question about it. Maybe too much mileage or too fast, not enough, functional flexibility mobility exercises. I know I've in later years, that's my everything I suffer from as a result of overuse. Um, I'm
And
not sure if yours are.
well, and a lot of it's just not listening to your body and plowing ahead with something, and you in the back of your mind, you're like, this is probably stupid, and I shouldn't do it, but you do it anyway, and you pay the price.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than downtime for a runner. Our lives just, we have a life, of course, and we have a running life. And our running life is, in many cases, right? It's what we do.
Yeah,
We don't have 28 different hobbies. We run and we set goals for races and things like that. And, I think that's part of being an aging runner. You're going to run into these things. And I'd like to believe that we're getting wiser, but we still do stupid things. Yeah. So anyway, moving on here, I want to talk about motivation and how you find motivation to come back from these injuries, or even when you're running well. Like, how do you set yourself up for motivation? I have my own hacks, and I talk about them. And the first one being, I am trying to create and accept small successes. I for many decades, I just was too difficult on myself. I didn't give myself a break, and if I failed a workout, for me it was bone crushing. But now it's different. Now I look for the small successes, and that's a hack. How about you? I mean, do you give
yeah,
yourself a little bit of grace? Do you find some solace in small success?
yeah. That's a good one. And in fact, just thinking about breaking my ankle years ago and what that was like, the recovery for that was excruciatingly slow. And I still have a very, very distinct memory of my wife, Jenny, helping me out the door when I was finally allowed to like start taking steps after
Mm.
the accident.
Just
I
putting
I
weight on
made
your foot.
just putting weight on my foot, and I had a big, massive stormtrooper boot around my leg, and I'm walking down the stairs, and I'm out in front of the house, and all I can manage is to walk 3 houses down the sidewalk and 3 houses back, and then back. And it was incredible pain, but I was just like so overcome with joy that I could actually do that. It was incredible. Like, talk about the smallest amount of workout distance I think I had ever done, but in the context of what I was going through, it was incredible. And so
Yeah.
I try to remember moments like that when I'm down and out. And it's like, even a small thing can be a
Yeah.
really big motivator.
Yeah. Before we started this recording, Eric and I were talking a little bit about setting the bar.
Yeah.
And this may sound really poor. And it's not a great way to live your life. But if you have lower expectations, I believe your chances of success is much
Yeah.
greater.
Well,
So, and that's it with injury.
yeah.
You're looking just for a modicum of uptick, right, in your
Yep.
ability. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah. So I think that's a great hack. And I think people need to think about that a little bit more than they do. I think runners in general, we're always trying to press the envelope. We're always trying to do that. You take
Mhm.
shortcuts. We don't stretch enough. We don't strength train consistently. And then when we get hurt, we're surprised. Just it's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
we start over, and you have to find a motivation because it's difficult. With me anyway, each successive injury, and truly over 50 years of running plus, I've only had maybe 6 major injuries, and those all came in the last 8 or 10 years.
Hmm.
I had plantar fasciitis like 30 years ago, and that took me down for 4.5 months, and it never came back because I do so much, you know, foot and calf related stretching. It was awful.
Yep.
But yeah, we look for that, and anyway, that's a hack, and that's a perfect example of looking for, small successes and accepting them. And I think people owe themselves that. The next thing, the next hack or shortcut that I make reference to is um, the decision making process. And when I'm trying to go out, when I'm trying to get out the door, whether it's morning, evening, whatever it is, a lot of times it's late in the day, it's dark out, it's winter here. It's what is it today? It's like 12 degrees. Uh, I know it's dark. I can see out your window.
Oh yeah.
And you get home from work, and the last thing you want to do is go out and run. Um, and one of the dilemmas is decision fatigue. You're just tired of like, oh my God, what am I going to wear? Where are my shoes? What am I going to,
What route?
the
What route
gear
are you
is
gonna take?
right. Yeah, the gear is one thing. What route am I going to take? Do I have to drive there? Am I going to leave from the front of the house? Eric, I know that you have run from your home more often than not. And even in your own neighborhood, I know you got bit by a dog.
Oh yeah.
So
There's a
going
story
that
in itself.
direction it is, yeah.
You can have
Maybe
that.
for
That could be
another
another
day.
podcast. That
Yeah.
could be
Yeah,
running hazards.
yeah. I'm fairly certain you got bit in the ass, right?
Oh yeah. I got the police report to prove it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. But anyway, so then you go a different way, right? But anyway, that's
Uh-huh.
just one of those decision hazards that if you haven't got these things locked and loaded in advance and you're already unmotivated, these kinds of decisions make the difference on whether or not you're going to go out or not.
Yep.
And, I try to set this kind of stuff up the day before, or if I'm going to run later in the day, during the day, I try to set it up. Where am I going to go? What direction? Where am I going to start and finish? Well, I'm going to finish at home, but I mean, am I going to drive somewhere? I've got gear. I always keep extra running stuff in my car. I used to keep it at my
That's a good one.
office,
Mhm.
right? I think you just never know when you're going to get an hour or whatever, and you want to get a run in, right?
Yeah.
So I find that to be part of the decision process. I don't have to worry about it. If I got stuff in the car and I always have it nearby, if I get the time, I get to go run. Um, in that regard, I mean, there's probably dozens of decisions that you could make in advance, and we don't.
Mhm.
But I think that having those decisions made in advance of each and every run, the chances of you going out are greater.
Mhm.
It may not be enough. You may be too hungry, thirsty, or annoyed to go out that evening, right? Even a
Mhm.
treadmill run. I don't have a treadmill at home. Um,
I've been trying to find one though.
I have been trying to find one, and but I have access to one, but it's only it's a 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you still have to get back in the car when it's dark and it's cold and it's raining or snowing, and yeah, it's just a hassle. Um,
Yeah, I think the decision fatigue kind of ties in well with like to me it's like a barrier. Like what's the barrier to get me to run in the first place? And if I can remove those in advance, if I can think about them or plan, like you say, I think that helps a lot. Running from home is an easy one, and yeah. I know you're stalking me, so that's you can see my runs. But that's the point, though. Like, and one of the things I love the most about running is it's so easy to just walk out the door and there you go. There's no excuse. You can choose to drive someplace, and when I plan ahead and it works out well, I go to the forest preserve or
yeah,
meet up someplace. Um, but I try to think, all right, what's today going to be? Is it going to be a home run? Okay. Um, Getting the clothes laid out ahead of time. You were talking about that a little bit earlier.
yep.
Like what am I going to wear weather wise? Lay it out. Or like wake up on a Saturday morning. I get dressed to run, even if I know I'm going to run later. I put the clothes on, and it just one less thing to stop me from not doing it later on.
Yeah, yeah. And then when you show up at one of your kids, you know, activities and you're dressed to run and they're dressed for a play, there's a lot of
They,
questions. People point
some
fingers.
questions get raised, but nobody stopped me so far. They haven't locked the doors yet.
that you know of, right?
No.
Um, yeah, let's talk about a couple of others here. I wanted to make a reference to this too. I was telling somebody about this the other day, a couple of weeks ago actually, and I was putting together the content, and they're like, "Well, why do you call them hacks?" And I said, "Well, they're shortcuts. This is somebody our age, right?" And she
Yeah.
didn't really understand what I meant by a hack, and I said, think of these as on ramps to getting
Yeah.
out the door. Like anything you want to call it. I refer to it sometimes as a gateway.
Yeah.
It's an action, it's a behavior, and if you change your action or change your behavior, you can pretty much count on an outcome of some kind, right?
Hmm.
So I refer to these things that maybe gateway hacks, or these are just motivation hacks, things that are shortcuts to getting us to do what it is we want to do.
Hmm.
And I also, you've probably heard me say this, but I used to tell all my runners that running is a gift. And if you have that gift and you don't exercise it, you've wasted the gift, right? And I
Yeah.
think about that a lot when I don't take the opportunity that I'm given to go out and run. I'm my own worst critic.
That's a
And
great point.
yeah,
And it reminds me, I don't know who said this now, and I feel bad about not being able to attribute it to the right person, but it was, and it's in line with what you're saying in terms of like appreciation and something that helps get me out the door is to remember that today I get to run,
yeah,
and that in itself is like is hugely motivating for me. There may be a point later in my life where I can't run, and
no question.
thankfully that's not today. Today I
Well,
get to run.
yeah, there is no question about it. I mean, there's going to come a day when your ability is going to be erased, right? It'll just cease
Mhm.
to exist, and you may get ill, and you'll stop running for a while because you're dealing with an illness or an
Yep.
injury, and we I refer to this in the podcast, but you we always take it for granted that the opportunity will be there. And
Totally.
thus far, there's always been a tomorrow, luckily,
Hmm.
but that's not the case for a lot of our friends. I mean, a couple, I know quite a few who they were runners for decades, and they had an injury that came about, and that was the end of their running career. That was it. Knee injuries, hip injuries. They weren't even all injuries. Some of them were family
Yeah.
familial problems,
Yep.
right? And they just lost the impetus to run. um
Maybe, or maybe it was just physical. Something came that
yeah,
just it couldn't be overcome physically anymore. But I think that's a lot of the motivation for your podcast here, John, is
it
to be able
absolutely
to
is.
talk about these things and maybe help others, maybe even help yourself, prevent some of that from happening, and to extend the run as long as you possibly can. And none of us are
Absolutely.
guaranteed we're going to be
and
able to do it
and,
tomorrow.
and find ways to in today's episode is like find motivational hacks, these shortcuts, these things that if you think about running as an opportunity,
Hmm.
and you do get to run,
Hmm.
that might be all you need is to think about it that way.
Hmm.
And I know you do. I know I do. And when I can't run, I'm sort of miserable. Um,
So are the people around you, I think.
yeah,
At least that's what I've been told. That I'm miserable to be
yeah,
around when I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
run.
yeah. And I'll blame it on the non-running thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. All right. Third hack, what I call the 10-minute test. I think you have a different name for this, but basically it's giving yourself the flexibility to grace to make a modification to your planned activity, but still get out the door. So in
Yeah.
my case, years ago, I used to say, all I need is 10 minutes. If I can just go out for 10 minutes, I will forget about the weather. I'll forget about how cold it is or how windy, how miserable I am, how the bad day I may have had.
Yeah.
I need 10 minutes. And if I can just give myself the 10 minutes, it's more likely than not that I'm going to finish the planned workout, or at least I can say I got some semblance of the workout completed, but I need to get out the door. And I call that the 10-minute test. And if I still feel like crap 10 minutes out, I give myself the freedom, the gift of calling it a day. But I
Yeah.
did get out the door. But it's more likely than not, because I went through the BS of getting changed and going somewhere to run or whatever, then I'm
Yeah.
just going to say, well, I'm already out here. I might as well finish it.
Might
Right.
as well stick it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is my 10-minute test. I think, people have different names for it. But it's flexibility. It's giving yourself the freedom to make a last minute change. Um, I also think that you are helped in this regard by things like accountability to others, right? We talked about
Yeah.
that a little bit. Have a running
Mhm.
partner. That's even better maybe than the 10-minute test, because I've gone out and run with guys who are like, man, if you weren't here, I'd be walking home right now,
Yeah.
you know, but
That's
you're
that's
here.
true.
I've done
Yeah.
that too. Those 5
Yeah.
a.m. runs where it's 20 below zero, it's dark
Yeah.
out, and I'm meeting a guy at the corner, and he goes, man, I was going to give you 15 more seconds, and I was going right home. you know, Coffee sounds a
Mhm.
lot better than 5 miles in this nonsense. Right?
Yep.
So that is my 10-minute hack.
Yeah. I
One thing
think
I
the 10
wanted to,
minute
yeah, go ahead.
I think the 10-minute, I think the 10 minutes is a really good test. Also, if you're not, maybe you're like on the border of an injury or you're feeling like, not really sure how this is going to go. Like
Right.
if you give it a shot, try it out and know in advance, like you're going to listen to your body, you're going to bag it. If it's really not the right thing to do, then that's fine. Like that's a good way to approach it rather than to push through and regret it later.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
so
totally agree. But no one ever regrets getting started. It's what you have to go through to get to the starting line, right?
yeah.
It's so much more difficult to get out the door than it is to stay outside or to get on the treadmill, right? I mean, it's so much easier
Hmm.
to say, I am going to make dinner and I'm going to have something to eat and I'll run later. And
Yep.
then, of course, you fall asleep in a chair or, whatever, any number of things, right? Um, yeah, so I agree with you. I think 10 minutes is nothing, but it's enough to make a major change in your mindset when you want to get out, once you're out the door.
Yep.
So yeah. Um, let's see. I've got show notes. Um,
You came prepared.
I did come prepared. Um, this one is alternating your route, giving yourself it's another gift, right? It's You may have a 10-miler plan. You may have a 3-mile park run that you do on every Thursday, right? And you've had a really brutal day, and you're like, man, I'm not in the mood. You want to serve your mood. You want to alternate your route. Give yourself that little bit of flexibility, a little bit of grace that says, "Eh, I'm not where I need to be to get this one done. So alternate your route, right? I mean, just say,
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that 7-mile uphill, both directions in the wind, Um, I'm just going to do it 3 miles from home and back, check the box, take a look at my training plan, and see what I can do about future workouts and absorb this and call it a success, right? I showed up. It was a
Mhm.
success. And that's all there is to that one. That, again, a lot of this is about knowing your own body and being smart about what your workout is, because I think we don't give ourselves enough credit or enough leniency. We try to stick to these plans like that for some reason. And, if I don't do this exact workout, my entire race prep is going to go in the toilet, right? And I don't think that's the case at all. I can look back on decades of road races where, you know, life got in the way of my running plans, but the race went fine. or the bigger goal, if you're going to run a
Mhm.
marathon or a half marathon, and you have a plan, but the plan has to have built-in flexibility. And I think simple things like, oh, I don't want to run on the concrete, so you get in the car and you go over and you run on the trail, and it's quiet. I love going to the woods because for me, trail running is so much better than road running. Um,
Mhm.
it's more often than not, especially in the summer months around here, it's almost deafeningly quiet, right? I mean, if there's nobody out on the single track trails, it's just you. I go with Dublin all the time, and it's quiet. It's quiet, you know. Um, I love that. It's a great way to de-stress, and I more often than not, when I don't want to do a workout and I end up going out on the trails for a couple of miles, I come home and my mindset is completely changed. My mood is changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Thinking about the alternate routes, like you were mentioning, I think that's a really good way to mentally refresh things too. And sometimes workouts get stale, or or routes get old, and that becomes another barrier. Like, oh, I'm just going to do the same thing over and over again. Mixing it up definitely keeps it fresh.
Yeah. I
And
mean, we used to do Thursday night track workouts, right? But we did
yeah,
different track workouts every Thursday. Thursday was
oh yeah,
speed, but Thursday was also a different kind of speed workout for decades. And, I think that the same thing holds true for whatever kind of workout you're doing. You know, um, Stretching, you can't, weightlifting, strength training, right? You don't work on the same muscles each and every day. I mean, it's a great way to hurt yourself, right?
hmm
When you're at work, you multitask, right? You don't do one thing and from start to finish, and you'd never succeed in your job, right? Anyway, those are the hacks that I think for me anyway. A couple of them that come to mind pretty quickly.
yeah.
Um, so, where are you at with your running situation right now?
I am running 2 days a week and biking 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah, I saw it on
And
Strava. I mean, dude, didn't
yeah,
you just do like a 25 miler yesterday or day before?
yeah. The bike, well, I mean, talking about mixing up your workouts
Yeah,
and avoiding injury, that's really what it's been about for the last couple months. And I'm trying, ideally, I would flip that around and be running 3 to 4 times and on the bike maybe twice.
yeah, yeah,
But right now it's just been easier. And plus, when it's -10, going downstairs to the bike, it's a little bit easier to get out. But
yeah.
I have been going outside still too.
I have not, I have not run outside. Oh, I did. I've run outside once in the first 20 days of January, exactly one day, and it was with the wind chill. It was about -10.
Yeah.
I think it was three above. You know, 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, and I went 2.5 miles, and my body is not adapted to the cold. I mean, it used
It's
to be I was out
natural.
all
Yeah,
every
sure.
day, right?
Yeah.
My body just hasn't adapted, and I'm at a place now where I'm on the treadmill because it's a controlled surface, and with
Mhm.
my injury, it's just easier for me. I'm a little concerned. I'm not worried about my stability. I'm just worried that I'm going to hit a patch and I'm
Yeah.
going to pull something or tear something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on the treadmill now. It's 4 days one week, 5 days the next. So um, I'm running 2 days on, usually a day off, and then I'm trying 3 days on and a day off. So I think that results in 4 days one week and 5 days the next. I think that's how the math works out for the last couple of months. And there are days when I just have to take an extra recovery day.
Mhm.
Um, I tell myself that I need the extra recovery day so that even if I'm being lazy, I just call it I need an extra recovery day, right? It's a
Mhm.
fine line, right? You got to know the difference. Uh, but if you give yourself too many freebies, you get out of the routine again. right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's an adaptation that takes place.
And that's where the accountability comes in. Having a
Yeah,
running partner or somebody that you're going to meet
yeah,
up with or something like
yeah,
that, like it becomes a lot harder to weasel out of the run if you've already agreed to meet somebody there. You know.
yeah. Yeah, there's nothing worse than that. Okay, we're going to run at 7 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. And then you get up and you brush your teeth and you're putting your gear on. You go grab your phone and you look, and you're 7 to 10 minutes away from heading out the door, and you see a text message. Oh, dude, I got a cold.
Yeah.
Or whatever. There's just absolutely nothing worse. I just
Yeah.
want to grab a couple of eggs, go by the house and pitch them, right? But
Yeah.
we've all done it, like, oh
Yeah,
God,
we
I
have, but
woke up
that
late. Yeah.
but you mentioned Dublin. I mean, there's a running partner who will
Yeah.
never back out of a run with you, right? Like
Ever, ever. There
she'll
are
jump in
certain words
anything.
that she's sound asleep over here right now. But if there are certain words, right, that if
Uh-huh.
if I were to stay, she would immediately like, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. She's great. She's great. So
Does she know when you're putting your gear on, and she knows that that's
absolutely,
that's
yeah. She
about?
knows.
Yeah.
She knows like the difference between different shoes. Like she knows if I'm just putting on shoes to go out to the yard and do yard work, or if I'm putting on my running shoes. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Smart
Yeah.
dog.
She is a smart dog. Yeah. Yeah. She's pretty beat today.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you for coming on, man. This has been great. I think this
My
has
pleasure.
really worked out well. You and I need to get together and run sometime soon. What are we 20, 30 miles apart, give or take? And you work and I
Something
don't.
like that. Yeah.
And you're not as injured as I am. And let's see, how many other excuses can we come up with?
Too cold. Too
It's
dark.
it's too cold. My car doesn't work in this weather. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we'll get it
Uh,
together in the next couple of
I
weeks.
don't really like hanging out with you. That's a good one.
Hey, well, hey, and again, set the bar low.
Yeah.
Set the bar low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I think this has been good material, and we'll check it out afterward, and we'll be in touch. And for those
All
of
right.
you who stuck with us for the entire episode, thank you very much. Again, this is the Aging Runner podcast, and on behalf of Erick Waldchen and myself, JJ Duffy, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Erick, thanks, man.
No problem. Thanks.